You, Lin Castaldo, my friend, this mic is all yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Welcome. As always, please join in and either post or just unmute yourself. And Lynn, yeah, that's amazing. Um, I'm still kind of shy, so I'm not into all this stuff, posting and being live, and oh my goodness. And it still kind of scares me with AI. But anyway, let's step back, be still, be silent, and just listen. Expect and have hope and faith. Listen, be still and silent and trust. Trust that presence is restoring us. So we are here for the reading of The Annihilated Self, Consumed by the Fire of Love by James F. Twyman. And he's having a beautiful conversation between love, the soul, and um, reason. And I really enjoy the fact that reason is here because reason is all those crazy thoughts that keep coming in. Okay. So we are on page 58. I'm going to I think we read that page, but I want to read it again. So Soul says, so there is no ladder left to climb, no virtue to perfect, no vow to keep. And Love says, none, in dark black print. Only this, fall, fall endlessly into me. Even this conversation will one day cease, but do not be afraid. I do not live in words or even in thoughts about me. I live in your not knowing. I dwell where all ladders end, where the eye falls asleep and never wakes again. And in that sleep, the truth in you will awaken. So for the longest time, I had so much fear of just going into that unknown. How can I not plan? How can I just allow the craziness, and you have four children, you're going to school, you're working. There's a lot of planning that has to be done. And then you retire, and then you can understand just living in the present. At least I can now, a lot easier than I could then. He says, I live in your not knowing. Love says, I dwell where all ladders end, where the eye falls asleep and never wakes again. And that's when you awaken to the truth of love and will awaken. Soul says, then I will fall, not because I understand, not because I trust myself to know that what falling means, but because somehow, even now, I feel you beneath me. You are not a hand reaching down from above. You are the soft ground beneath my fear. You are the mercy into which I land when I let go. Still love, still love, even as I say this, something trembles in me. A question, a doubt, a whisper saying, what if I disappear? What if I fall into nothing and find no one there? That free fall, that's so scary. So love answers, precious echo. That whisper is the last veil, the fear of the holy nothing. But listen well, when you fall into nothing, you fall into everything. When you disappear, it is only the false you that vanishes, the mask, the striving, the one who thought it needed to be worthy. You will not be lost. You will become what you have always been. a flame that forgot it was fire. I keep wondering about um, all the saints that had that dark night of the soul and how this plays out when they thought they were just being deserted. Maybe they were just free falling into the nothingness. So Soul says, let the mask fall. I will not gather it up again. I feel it now, not the peace the world promised, but a holy silence. My internet is unstable, so hopefully this works. A holy silence, a deep loosening of my grip on all things, even on you, especially on you. I don't need to reach for you anymore, do I? And love says, no, beloved, I am your reaching. I am your falling. I am the stillness at the center of your undone self. And now I no longer need to speak through riddles because the one who needed answers is no longer asking. You have entered the fire, not to be consumed, but to become the very flame itself. Would you like me to show how this union lives in the world? That's such a serious question. Hmm. How do we fall into this nothingness and yet still survive and do everything that's needed to be done? Would you like me to show how this union lives in the world? How the awakened soul walks among people without losing its emptiness? And soul says, yes, I would like that. So love says, let me show you quietly how the awakened soul walks the world, not as a teacher, not as a saint, not even as a servant, though at times it may wear those robes. It walks without any name because it no longer needs one. When the awakened soul enters a room, it does not try to shine. It has no self to polish. Yet light floods in. When it speaks, it does not weigh its words. Yet its silence speaks louder than sermons. It does not seek to comfort, but people feel comforted. It does not seek to guide, but others begin to see clearly. Why? Because the soul no longer casts a shadow. It does not block the light. It is the light, only because it does not try to be anything. So I've been reading His Parish is the Whole World about Father Stefano Gobbi, Gobbi, and he's the founder of the Marian movement, a priest. And he wrote the Blue Book, and the Blue Book is inspired by the Blessed Mother. But I just want to read the advice that he gave one of the priests who is leading all these things with Our Lady. And Father Stefano was told by the Blessed Mother that he is not to lead or do anything, that she would take over, that she would be the one to guide, and that he was never to plan it out. There were just, certain things that they followed in a cenacle, but by his following, Our Lady will save an innumerable number of souls because we are the great white army for all the lay people. That was, the ultimate plan. But there was something else that um, I just, as I read this, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, yeah, um, to just step back and allow um, this was one of the messages to a father in 1973. What is it you dread? Of whom are you afraid? Pray and abandon yourself to me. This is the Blessed Mother. Let it be really I alone who act. Let it be her alone who acts. And then here was another one to St. Maximilian Kolbe, who was considered useless by his advisors. He says, it says, the Immaculate, the all pure Mary, took into her hands this instrument, Father Kolbe, that was considered useless. It really seems that God, in order to use his instruments well, must reduce them to nothing. We have to just be nothing to be everything, to be totally led. Beautiful to see it all, and see it all coming together. All right, um, so here's love again. Then let me show you quietly how the awakened soul walks the world, not as a teacher, not as a saint, not even as a servant. Though at times it may wear robes, it walks without any name because it no longer needs one. When the awakened soul enters a room, it does not try to shine. It has no polish. It has no self to polish. Yet light floods in. When it speaks, it does not weigh its words. Yet its silence speaks louder than sermons. It does not seek to comfort, but people feel comforted. It does not seek to guide, but others begin to see clearly. Why? Because the soul no longer casts a shadow. It does not block the light. It is the light. Only because it does not try to be anything. So Soul said, then this soul, it acts, but without acting. It loves, but without choosing to love. And love says, yes, it lives by an unselfed impulse, an unselfed impulse. So much different than an ego that's so impulsive. Like wind that doesn't know where it is going, yet sings through the trees. It no longer asks, is this right? Or will this help? It simply flows. It pours. And even if it seems strange or foolish to the world, it does not care. For it has already died to the world, and now only love remains. So we would move through the world being totally guided and light. You were talking about thoughts coming in and how meaningless they are before I quote a couple of things. Um, and I had this experience again last night. I was trying to fall asleep, which didn't really work. And all these crazy thoughts kept coming back. And I was like, I'm done with you thoughts. Why are they still appearing? What, what do what is this? And I was finally able to just shut it down. So love says, what has already died to the world, and now only love remains. Soul says, what of its place in the church or the world of prayer and liturgy? Does it still kneel? Does it still speak sacred words? And love replies, sometimes it kneels, sometimes it sings, but not out of duty or habit. It bows because the heart bows, And it sings because silence has grown too full to contain. The awakened soul might stand in a cathedral or in a marketplace, but it no longer sees a difference. All is holy. Even the beggar's breath, even the cry of the condemned, even the cracking of old stone. No longer seeking heaven, it finds heaven everywhere. Heaven on earth, how beautiful. So Soul says, then the world is no longer my obstacle. Love replies, the world was never your obstacle, beloved. It was only the mirror in which you saw yourself. And now the mirror has cracked, and what shines through is not a reflection. It is me. And I know we talked about the mirror last week, but this mirror allows love to shine forth. So Soul says, and then let this veil remain torn. Let the breath pass gently through me, unclaimed. Let me walk the world with no name, blessing each thing simply by being nothing. Let me bless the world by simply being nothing. To the frightened heart, I offer no answer, only presence. To the angry one, I offer no argument, only stillness. To the lost, I do not point away, for I have no path left to follow, and yet I am the way because I resist none. So this has become my lesson, not to point the way, not to try to get someone to do something else, not to try to fix what I perceive as a problem, but just to be. Resist nothing. Soul says, let my hands move only when the wind moves them. Let my words fall like rain, not to persuade, but to soften the soil. I will not build temples, but I will sit where the forgotten ones gather, and the silence between us will be a sanctuary enough. The silence, that silence is so vital, so important. I bless the priest and the prisoner, the chanting monk and the weeping drunk. I no longer see the difference. I have nothing to defend, nothing to gain, nothing to lose. And so everything flows through me like a river returning to the sea. I am that river. I am that sea. This is the blessing I now offer the world. I am no longer here. And because I am not here, only love is. How beautiful is that? Let's just take that apart a little bit. I wanted to also share that I posted on my Facebook page how the monks are walking for peace, and they even are walking with their dog. And they've been just walking through. I think their final destination is Washington. Yes, yeah, Lynn is saying the same thing. The walking monks. Yeah. Um, Powerful statement. And somebody just gave me a link, and I haven't had a chance to read it, but they were talking about how Pope Leo is trying to maybe in what I took it as, bridge the East with the West, like take the wisdom. But I can't say because I haven't read it, but wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful for everybody to finally see love is the answer, and that all these ways are just pointing to the universal love, and how easily it all can be converted to God's will and what should be. I know you don't like that word, should be, but what can be, what will be, which I hope I see in my lifetime. because the
Uh,
world sure shakes us up. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, and it is what it is. This is what Jesus talks about in the Course of Miracles when he's talking about the real world. And the real world is a place where I walk through the world as a blessing everywhere I go. And everything I see is heaven. And that's and you know that we don't imagine it now because we're seeing everything that seems to be going wrong. But that's why these workbook lessons that we're doing right now, that are all about, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's happening. I really don't know. Nothing I see here has any meaning. And yesterday's lesson and today's lesson are all about, um, what I think is happening is not really happening. And so this this soul walking through the world as love is my being walking through the world being a representative of him who sent me, as we're told very clearly, the Christ mind. So I love this is so beautiful. And yeah, that I thought of those monks, and you know they are, it is totally selfless, that there is no ego self involved. It is just the Christ moving and walking around through these towns, going through, being greeted by all these people that are so happy to see them and so joyful because they're recognizing this is the path to peace. And so yeah, and I'm glad, I am I see, and Pope Leo, oh my goodness, yes, he is bringing us to the point where we say there is only one God, and that God is the ruler of all the world, not just the Catholics or whomever, the Christians or the Jews or what. God is the God of everyone. And this is why he's going to everyone. And a lot of people are upset about that. Why is he going over there? Those are all Muslims. Well, because it's God. God's God. Has nothing to do with any particular belief system. It has to do with God being the only power that is. So thank you for letting me share. And I see Mike has his hand up also.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, yeah, God is the universal. He knows how to join all of us and make this what it needs to be. But go ahead, Mike. Thank you. Thanks, Lynn.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say something about the Pope. Uh, I don't have to preface it with anything like I'm not Catholic or anything like that, but I I love when you said like he wants to bring the East and West together and promote universal love. And I heard the Pope when he walked out on when he, the first minute he was declared Pope. I was sort of watching it on TV because it was on all the TV channels here in Mexico. And I was just sort of, it was like background noise. And the first thing the Pope said, the first words that came out of his mouth as the Pope when he walked out there to address the people, he said, God loves everyone.
Mm.
And that just still, those words are just still ringing in my ears. And I just wanted to share that because I believe it too.
That's wonderful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That is beautiful. And God does. He loves everyone, even as Jesus walked the earth and he took in the sinners and everyone that just that's his purpose. And that's what, we're here supposed to be doing, just loving all, which, is not easy. Um, especially when things get so rough, like I've been sitting here saying, um, Blessed Mother, how did you kneel at that cross and watch the pain and the suffering, knowing you could do nothing? Knowing that um, this was the will of the Father and you were following through, and that your son was suffering and following through. And it's funny because I was telling somebody else and they were like, well, he was God. He could have stopped it all. But that wasn't the plan. That wasn't the will. That wasn't fighting the battle and winning the war, and now my prayer is, please, Holy Spirit, guide these leaders, make them do what's right and just for the dignity of all people. So anyway, we're back to the Annihilated Self, chapter 7, the final fear. Aha, the final fear, what's behind all these beliefs? I heard you talking about that a little bit too. What's behind the real upset, the real belief that's buried? Um, so Soul says, you've been so honest and clear, love, and so I want to expose my greatest fear. You talk about the annihilation of the individual self and the inflow of love when the soul finally surrenders to this ocean of grace. I have every reason to believe you, love, but here is my concern. What will happen to my family when this happens? Oh, how I could relate. How will I support my children or anyone who depends on me? I'm afraid this great dissolve will leave me impotent to the responsibilities that will require my attention. Will I be like a bowl of jello when I'm finally filled with the light you describe, unable to handle the day-to-day activities of my life? How many times have I heard this spoken, through the sages and different people that have awakened, where they just sat, they were unable to do much. Um, so that is the big fear. How will I provide for my family? How will I support my family and anyone who depends on me? How will that great dissolve leave me? Will I be like a bowl of jello? So love says, ah, dear soul, how tender is this fear, how noble it seems, and how bound to the image of a self that still imagines itself as the center of its own orbit. This fear is not a sin, but is misplaced. You believe the loss of you will make you useless, but I tell you the opposite is true. What you call you is the very weight that dulls your capacity to respond with grace. I'm going to read that again. What you call you is the very weight that dulls your capacity to respond with grace. Once it is gone, only grace will remain. So we're dulled by that veil. We're dulled by thinking that we are the most important thing, that we are the center of our own orbit. And it's just being misplaced. Only grace will remain. You will not be jello. You will be wine. Poured out, yes, but without vessel. You will be bread, broken, but nourishing. You will rise in the morning and feed the children, and it will not be you who feeds them, but me, moving unimpeded through what was once tangled in your efforts. So it'll be God moving through us, telling us what to do, showing us what to do. So Soul says, but how, love? How can I function without the personhood I built, the one who learned how to manage? how to sacrifice, how to keep it all going. The biggest question, right? The biggest fear, like, how do I do this? How do I manage? My thing also was like, how do I do this and not be a doormat? Love says, you confuse structure with control, my darling. The person you built learned how to endure life, but not how to live it. It learned how to strain, but not how to sing. What I'm asking is not that you abandon your children, your duties, or your world. I am asking you to abandon the doer, the manager, the one who still believes it must preserve a self in order to give. Abandon the doer, the one who thinks they know all the answers and believes that they know it and can do it the right way. Have you ever seen a mother stroke her child's face? Not from duty, but from pure being. That is what this surrender looks like. Not less active, but less possessed by activity. You will not lose your hands. You will lose the grasp that stiffened them. You will move from pure being, just moving from love. Soul says, but what of planning? What of money or obligations or people who rely on my consistency? Are you saying these will just take care of themselves? So real, right? These are real fears. What of money obligations or people who rely on my constancy? So love replies, no, I am saying that you will no longer be the one who, through effort alone, takes care of anything. I am the divine rhythm that arranges all things. When the self is annihilated into me, it walks through time and space, but is not owned by them. You will step into each task, each moment, each demand with the same grace that allows you to step into the silence where you will find me. Will money still come and go? Yes. Will plans still be made? Of course. But you will no longer cling to them. You will no longer fear them. You will act, but not react. You will tend, but not pretend to control. So this is the same message that I was thinking about earlier with being told to just allow. You know, when Father Stefano started the movement, he was told that he was never to ask for money. He was never to um, really promote it. He was just to allow the Blessed Mother to direct him. So when he first started, well, his advisor told him he was to write down all the messages from the Blessed Mother. And of course, he went through this phase where, he wasn't believed and they didn't want him to publish that it was from the Blessed Mother, that he was having these locutions, which I always thought was when somebody goes from one place to another. But now I'm learning that it's also when you're receiving these messages that you feel are from the Blessed. But she said the same thing. She said, you are not to do anything on your own. You are to follow my lead. And she went from this one priest who the first time he made photocopies of, the pages that he had written to give at a group of priests that were maybe like 10 in company, to make it going around the world. And even he was amazed that people in China and Japan and all over the place were finding out about this. he said um, the first time it actually was printed and shared, I guess, as a real book was in Italy in 1973. In 2014, he had the 27th Italian edition. And by 1974, there were 20,000 copies of the fourth edition. It went around the world with total trust, just total trust in believing that there was a plan, a divine plan, just as we're being told here by love. There's a divine plan that takes no effort from us. Um, I'm going to say soul again, but what of planning? What of money or obligations or people who rely on my consistency? Are you saying these will just take care of themselves? And love replies, no, I am saying that you will no longer be the one who through effort alone takes care of anything. I am the divine rhythm that arranges all things. With the self is when the self is annihilated into me, it walks through time and space, but is not owned by them. You will step into each task, each moment, each demand with the same grace that allows you to step into the silence where you will find me. There we are, referring back to that silence again. That's so very important. Will money still come and go? Yes. Will plans still be made? Of course. But you will no longer cling to them. You will no longer fear them. You will act, but not react. You will tend, but not pretend to control, giving up that total control. This is so good. And listen to what Soul says. I'm listening, love, but something in me still trembles. It's the feeling that if I stop being someone, I'll stop being reliable. Isn't that dangerous for those I love? I used to feel that way. I used to feel that if every second wasn't busy, that I wasn't what's the word I want? Productive. And that I had to constantly have my mind going and thinking so that I could plan out all these things because there was so much to plan. Wow. Something in me still trembles. I'll stop being reliable. And love answers, soul, what you call reliability has often been a mask, worn not only for others, but for yourself. You have held things together with trembling hands and called it strength. What I offer is not your effort, polished and dressed. It is your effortlessness revealed. Wow. Your effortlessness. And what comes to me are this generation now that is so mixed up, so confused, thinking that, they need to be drugged or find a way that on their own. But you have held things together with trembling hands and called it strength. What I offer is not your effort polished and dressed. It is your effortlessness revealed. Let me speak clearly. Your loved ones do not need your strain. They need your presence. They do not need your burden. They need your being. And your being cannot shine fully until you cease protecting the idea of you. Will they notice a change? Yes. Will they question it? Perhaps. But what they will feel, though they may not be able to name it, is a spaciousness in you, a softening, a light that touches them even when you are silent. And that's my wish. Oh my goodness, yes. That spaciousness, that total trust that everything will be okay. a light that touches them. Soul continues, so I won't become passive? And love replies, no, you will become transparent. And through that transparency, I will act. I will laugh through you. I will correct gently through you. I will hold space, cook meals, write letters, balance books. And none of it will add weight to your soul. For the one who once feared being crushed by these things will be gone. You are afraid that you will melt, and I say, melt gladly. You fear becoming useless, and I say, become useless to your ego and infinitely useful to me. Wow. Useless to the ego, but so useful to love, to God, to our oneness. Soul says, but what if, as I dissolve, they cling to me even more? What if they resist the change they feel? And love replies, that is not yours to solve. You must not become a shield between others and their own lessons. Here it is again. I keep being told I can't fix it. This is not yours to solve. You must not become a shield between others and their own lessons. Your presence will be a mirror, and not all will like what they see. But the mirror will be clear. The mirror will be clean. And from time to time, one of them will gaze into it and see not their own reflection, but me. Let them come, let them go. Be nothing to them, and therefore be everything. Wow, what a lesson that is. We're not here to fix anything. We're just here to allow love to flow through us. And sometimes that is such a hard lesson for me. Soul says, then this annihilation is not an end to love. And love replies, no, child, it is the end of possessive love and the beginning of true love. It is the death of love as attachment and the birth of love as presence. So it's the end of death as an attachment, that possessive love, that love thinking that they have to do to show their love, right? But a love as presence, the birth of love as presence. You will still hold your child, but now your arms will be made of air and light. You will still speak with your friend, but your voice will carry the weight of eternity. And when your time comes to leave this body, you will not worry who will carry what you carried, for you will see it was never you who carried anything. It was never me who carried anything. It was never you who carried anything. I am the one who carries, and I am the one being carried. As always, there is only one, and within that one, love shines. Wow. As always, there is only one, and within that one, love shines. So Soul replies, yes, I want to speak from here, though I confess I do not know exactly where here is. It feels like I'm standing at the edge of the great unseeable sky. A stillness has entered me, and I do not know what to call it. It's not confidence. It's also not clarity. It is more like an emptiness that doesn't ache. Perhaps this is what you meant all along. Love, that I would not be left hollow, but would become hollowed out, not abandoned, but abandoned too. And now, as I gaze upon the task before me, the dishes, the deadlines, the children's needs. I don't feel crushed by them. I don't feel inspired by them either. I just feel available. Is that what it means to be annihilated? To just feel available? Love says, yes, my sweet soul. You have stepped into the sacred ordinary. Oh, in italics, the sacred ordinary. This is the secret the saints could not always explain, though they burned with it. To live without self is not to live without action. It is to act without residue. For the longest times when I saw, some of those sages that just, sat and did absolutely nothing, I was like, is that what awakening is? It scared the daylights out of me. But this isn't it. We will act. We'll just step into this sacred ordinary. It is to act without residue. What you do now leaves no ash behind. There is no self-image to protect, no virtue to perform, no fear to swallow, just the simple breath of God going in and out through you. And Soul replies, then I will rise, and I will not rise alone. I will not say I must. I will not say I should. I will simply let what is needed come, as easily as breath, as naturally as morning. No longer will I perform devotion like a part in a play. I am devotion itself now, without posture, without script, without any me to direct the scene. And still, I feel love for my children. But it's softer now, not a hook, not a chain, more like sunlight falling on their faces, even when they're not looking at me. And love replies boldly, yes. Now you love with my love. Now your gaze is mine. Now your work is mine. This is what you feared would take away from those you love, but it brings you closer than you've ever been. It strips away the need to be seen so that you may truly see. It strips away the need to be seen so that you may truly see. You thought surrender would make you float above the world like a cloud, but now you see you are kneeling deeply into the soil of life. You are kneeling deeper into the soil of life than ever before. Rooted, quiet, and real. You thought surrender would make you float above the world like a cloud, but now you see you are kneeling deeper into the soil of life than ever before. Rooted, quiet, real. And Soul replies, yes, real. That's the word. Not righteous, not inspired, not wise, just real. Oh, how beautiful. Any comments before we go on?
Yeah, I do have
Please.
this is it, really, this is it. This giving up all of your pretenses, all pretending. Stop acting, just be what you are. And what you are is just the quiet truth. And so, yeah, I mean, there's so many things that we do that are a ritual or a somehow we have a belief that somehow it's going to be helpful or do something, or I'll pray for you, I'll bless you, um uh, all these things that we do that the reality of it is how I see you. So when I see you through the eyes of love, then I see that all you are is love. Love is what you are. Love is what we are. And so, whatever it is, um, it becomes the new reality. It becomes the new reality. And if everything you looked at, you saw or could see is just love, love, um, seeking love, love giving to love through love, what love requests. That's really
Mm,
what it is. It's all love. A call for love or love. Those are the only two things that are happening here, and it's all love. So this is, how your life changes. Your life changes from being that of being objecting to everything around you. Oh, it's too cold. I don't like that. This is not going the way I think it should. They should never have done these things. Get rid of those woulds and shoulds. Just get rid of those woulds and shoulds and just be love. And being love, you just go through with no opinion about anything. When and of course, ego is going to go nuts when you say, I'm giving up all my opinions and all I'm going to see is love, because ego has a lot of opinions that it thinks are keeping you safe. But you don't need ego's fears to keep you safe. The only thing that you need to keep you safe is to be what you are, because what you are cannot be changed. What you are can't be touched. And
mm,
so when you dig deep into what you are, you do become rooted. You do become quiet. You do become real. You become real. Uh,
mm, mm. I love it. Yeah.
because what we are now is what we think we are is not real. What we think we are is a bunch of stories,
Right.
and
That change.
yeah, that change all the time, and none of it's real. I love this. It's so beautiful. I'm so glad you're reading it, Lynn. It's awesome.
I really am getting so much out of this. And I'm not going to start the next chapter, but I also want to share what Dino said. It's like a judgment magnet. How often does being real look strange to the one around us? Like all that. And Rick, please share.
Hey friends, good to be here with you all. Thank you, Lynn and Lynn. I'm loving this, and like Lynn Johnson said, there is this need, or I have this this actor or that's constantly putting on new hats on in every situation. And this is telling me that, you know, I no longer have to do that. I can just be. And
Hmm.
as a result of that, it doesn't mean that I become a non-entity or a non
My name is Ruby. I woke before the sun.
um a non-anything. I get to tend to things now. And what a beautiful way of detangling my brain, because, I'm still um I'm not trying to figure out, but I'm trying to understand what my seed assignment is. And, I still have the detangling process happening, which we all do. But I'm fairly new at this. And so when I hear this, it just allows me to sit all the way down in my chair and just kind of go, it's happening. Um, it may not be the way the ego wants it. It may not be my perception of what I think other people want me to be doing or not doing or how to be. Um, but this is it. You know, this whole thing about being in a state of presence is it. And now I have to laugh because, the ego really wants to rip the shit out of this, and and take
Uh-huh.
control of this and say, either I'm a piece of shit, or that I'm not doing enough, or this is all BS, and they don't know what they're talking about, or follow me. Like I sense it, I see it. And so I know something's going on. I know that the state of presence is here and always here. Um, and I have to trust that,
Mhm.
regardless of what the head is telling me, because it's constantly dictating, Lynn, constantly telling me what I need to do next or not do next, and where I need to be, don't need to be, and why are you still going to these meetings? You don't need to be here, Um, so it gets exhausting.
And yet, and yet there's this presence deep
Yeah.
within that keeps calling you back to that
Yes.
peace. And that's, I think that's the sanity of it. That's why we still stay, that's because we know that presence, that peace, in that silence that just draws you. It's just so beautiful in the silence. Um, and then what's always fascinated me is when I do step back and allow it to come through and follow through, it's such a better choice.
Mm.
It's like magical, it's like that holy instant that suddenly everything works out better than I could have ever planned.
Oh yeah, when
So,
I start controlling this, I know, because things move away. Not things like money and all that stuff. I mean people and places, and um there's no equanimity. There's no flow. It's not like the ocean. I become this torrent of a wave, right? Trying to push through everything. Thank you.
thank all of you. I love hearing from everybody, and I'm so glad we're sharing this book. Um, Lynn, I will give it back to you.
Sorry,
Thank you.
what book is it that you're reading?
Okay, we're reading James, I think his most recent book, The Annihilated Self. I don't know if
Okay.
you're going to be able to see it.
James Twyman.
Um,
Yeah.
by James Twyman.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Thank
on
you.
Amazon.
All
It's
right.
The Annihilated Self, Consumed by the Fire of Love. So it's fantastic. But there's my phone. So, and my granddaughter's coming for lunch. All right. Bye
Yay.
bye, all.
I love you, Lynn. We'll talk to
Love
you
you too,
next
Lynn.
week.
Bye.
Bye bye, Annie.